The next day, Jesus returned to Jerusalem with 3 of the emissaries. And while within the precincts of the great temple, some scribes and counselors of the temple came up to him and said,
"By whose authority and by what right do you behave as you do?"
Jesus said, "Before answering your question, let me ask you one. When John immersed in water, was this divinely inspired, or did it originate in the minds of men?" This was not a question they could answer, for if they replied,
"It was divinely inspired,"
Jesus could justly say, "Why then did you not listen to him?" Or if they replied,
"It originated with men,"
it would arouse the hostility of the people who believed John to be divinely inspired. When they declined to answer, Jesus said, "Neither need I answer you." A priest said to Jesus, "Tell us who you really are." And he answered, "I am the son of Elohim, and the servant of man, who of himself can do nothing, but being filled with the power of him who overshadows me, one to whom all things are possible." The priest said, "The son of Elohim is not unknown to us, and the servant of man will not come as you have done. Though we cannot understand this name, some of the people say you are Messiah, who will deliver us and reign over us, but he will come with manifest power." Jesus said, "This is a night of ignorance, and I come declaring the way of light. Whoever believes in me does not serve me, but serves with me. He is my brother in the cause of Elohim. He who sees me sees the reflection of he who inspires me. I am the light of the world. If anyone hears my words but chooses to ignore them, I am not his judge, for I am not come to judge men, but to guide them. The light will not be with you for long, so hasten to it, lest you be left in darkness." The priests said among themselves, "Perhaps he's harmless." Going into the courtyard, where many people were gathered, Jesus stood in a corner and spoke to any who would listen. And it was here he told this parable. A man planted a vineyard, equipping it with all things necessary for winemaking. Then he leased it and left to live elsewhere. After the vintage season, the owner sent a servant to the tenants to collect the rent. But they laid hands on him, and after beating him up, sent him on his way empty-handed. The owner sent another, who was treated even worse, while the third man was killed. When no one else would go, the owner decided to send his oldest son, reasoning that the tenants would respect his authority. However, when the eldest son came, the tenants decided that if he were dead, no one else would dare to come. So they killed him and threw the body into a pit. Now, do you think the tenants' reasoning was sound? Of course. The owner came with those who meted out justice, and, having put the tenants to death, gave the lease of the vineyard to others. Jesus also told other parables. And when the self-righteous ones and false Pharisees realized that most were directed against them, they considered ways to keep him quiet. But as he was popular with the people, they decided it would be better to leave him alone. Jesus taught that the greatest enemies of man and the greatest opposition to the coming rule of Elohim were not the obvious evildoers and criminals, no, but the hypocrites, the self-deceivers, and the self-centered. Those are the true enemies of men, the festering evil in their midst, yet they cannot see themselves for what they are, and have many ways of justifying themselves. For Jesus said of those, "They sit before well-filled tables, condemning the crimes of those who are hungry. They sleep on soft beds and wallow in worldly luxuries. but their hearts are closed, and their faces are hardened towards those who steal and even murder. Yet I tell you this, their own thoughts conceive and engender much greater wrongs. Neither are those who associate with them free from guilt. Going to an open space beyond the great temple, Jesus addressed those who believed in his cause, saying, "Abiding by the things I have taught you will bring knowledge of truth, and truth will set you free." Some replied, "We are the stock of Abraham, and have never been enslaved to any man. How can you state we will be made free?" Jesus said, "Anyone following an evil course is a slave. There are men who are enslaved to their desires, and others enslaved to unnatural cravings. There are those enslaved to their weaknesses, and others to their fears and doubts. That is why I say I come to set you free. I know you are from the stock of Abraham, but you do him no credit in seeking to kill those whose teachings disturb you. Why must I listen only, or why must you listen only to those who tell you pleasing things, when there is greater benefit to be gained from those who tell you things which disturb or displease? I have no time to go around praising the good. There is too much badness to be exposed." The people said, "We know our fathers and are of their blood, and we know our Father who reigns in the heaven." Jesus said, "If Yahweh were your father, you would all love me as a brother. Can you understand the things I say, or are they beyond your grasp?" Not all the Pharisees were opposed to Jesus, only a few, allying themselves with Herodians because of him. One of the latter came to Jesus, trying to trap him by asking, "Adonai, your sincerity is established, and your impartiality is known. Help us, for this is the time of taxing. Shall the temple tax be paid to Elohim or to Caesar?" Jesus said, "Show me the coins you used to pay the tax." One was given to him. Jesus held it up, and he asked, "Whose likeness and inscription appear on the coin?" They said, "Why, it is Caesar's." Jesus said, "Do not give to Elohim the things which are rightly Caesar's, nor to Caesar the things which are rightly Elohim's." The next question was asked by one who believed in bodily renewal after death. And he said, "Adonai of the Torah, Moses handed down laws to govern our lives, and one states that when a man dies, his brother should marry his wife, providing she is without child. Now, if there are 7 brothers, the first marries and dies, and so his brother marries the widow, she being childless, the same happens down through all 7. So when the last dies, she is left childless until she dies too. Now, when all rise to life at the resurrection, which one can rightfully claim the woman as wife, when she has been legally married to all 7? Jesus said, "By believing in bodily renewal, you start with the false premise, and have no understanding of the nature of the Ruah. Where death is overcome, marriage does not conform to earthly laws, which are made to mitigate the weaknesses of men. Tell me, with which one did the woman's spirit blend, and with which was there only a union of flesh?" Jesus said, "Concerning the awakening of the dead, do not the holy books declare there is only an Elohim of the living? This is true, and those who believe otherwise are in error. When all life is supported by the arm of Yahweh, how can he be the Elohim of the dead?" Many people believed in Jesus and had faith in his teachings, for they said among themselves, "Would HaMashiach, Messiah, show us any greater proofs than this man?" Because of the things said and done by many concerning Jesus, Those who held power, fearing a disturbance, sent guards to seize him. But he said to the captain, "I am here for a few days, and then I must go following the path of my obligation. Seek me then, for I will be in a place beyond your reach. I follow a chosen path, and none may follow. We each have a duty, but you have discretion whether to take me or not. My frailties say, 'Go with him,' but my heart calls me to duty." The captain of the guard said, "Whom do you serve so dutifully?" Jesus replied, "I serve Yahweh." Then the captain said, "The priests serve Yahweh, and you are not a priest. And it is said you call yourself the servant of man. But who is he?" Jesus answered, "The service rendered by priests is meaningless unless it also serves man. For service in the cause of Elohim is likewise service in the cause of man. Can your sword arm serve one master and your shield arm serve another?" The captain said, "Adonai, I can see you are a man dedicated to duty. Whether your cause be just or unjust, whether you be friend or foe, it is not within my understanding to know. But a man whose heart is ruled by the demands of duty, I can understand. I will tell those who sent me that shortly you leave for a distant place where none can follow, and they will leave you alone." When those who sent to have Jesus taken heard this, they said, "Perhaps he goes to the Yawanites or the islands in the sea. Therefore we will ignore him." Jesus went and rested among the columns of Shalomah, and while there, some people came and asked why he did not declare himself and reveal he was Messiah and Yahweh's anointed, the promised one from the stock of David. Jesus said, "My works and words declare me and establish my title. Those who heed my message enter the proper fold, and a good shepherd protects his flock, seeing none goes astray or is taken by wolves. Though these are my first care, I seek to bring all men into the fold that's best suited for them. And I am prepared to die if thereby I can bring men into the fold leading to the fields of everlasting life. The deeds whereby men save their lives on earth may cost them a life in honor, but whoever lays down his life in the cause of Elohim shall surely know eternal life. I come to sow strife among men, so they may be roused from the sleep of apathy. I come to strengthen the poor, so they may take heart and throw off the yoke imposed by the privileged. This is my message for the wealthy. Enjoy your ill-gotten goods, console yourselves with comfort, and buy the fickle goodwill of men. Make merry while you may. Close your eyes to the harshness of reality, for the day will surely come when your body weakens, the pleasures pale, and you will glimpse into the dark doorway ahead. Be certain that the only welcome you will get on the other side is from the Ruah of darkness, who will escort you to a proper place in their dismal abode. Because of his condemnation of the rich, who misused their wealth, and nearly all of them did, the priests were angry with Jesus, for they depended on rich patrons. They said, "Who are you to revile your betters when you are no more than a loud-tongued beggar?" Jesus said, "Is it not written in the holy books, 'Disregard outward appearances, for these may conceal either treasure or garbage'? Only Yahweh knows what really lies within. The body is only the outer covering shed at death. What matters is the likeness of the spirit it clothes." One of the priests said, "You claim to save through immersion, a cleansing by fire and water, but while these are both great purifiers, how can they deliver man from sin?" Jesus said, "Water and fire are purifiers of earthly things, But I tell you that unless men be cleansed in the waters of contrition and tested in the fires of adversity, they cannot enter the kingdom of the heaven." The priest said, "Where then is the reign of the heaven?" Jesus said, "Beyond earth lie the dominions of the Ruah, and therein are the reign of the heavens and the principality of evil, places of light and splendor, and of darkness and despair." Another priest said, "Tell us about the Ruah." Jesus said, "A vintner asking for wine, does mine so much excel yours?" Then he continued, "Men understand the things wherein they place their hearts. If it be in worldliness, they know worldly things, but if it be in spirituality, they know things of the Ruah. He who is ever watchful of the wind never sows, and he who fixes his eyes on the clouds never reaps. The wind blows where it will, and though recognizing its sound, no man knows from whence it comes or whither it goes. For the best advice on worldly matters, I would go to a worldly wise man, but I am a spiritually wise man. Therefore cannot you take notice when I talk of things I know? That I gain nothing from my teachings? It's obvious, for my clothes and manner of life bear witness to this." Nearby a rich man stood listening, and now he said, "Have you never brought the tree for silver, and having worked it, sold the product of your hands for gold? If a man has seed, should he let it rot? Is it not better to plant the seed so it yields an increase? And is not the sower entitled to this?" Jesus said, "The laborer is worthy of his hire, and he who sows is entitled to reap the increase. But remember, the sown seed does not grow through human effort alone. It requires rain and sun, and the soil must give up its goodness. These things come from Yahweh as gifts to man. Why, then, should man deny Elohim's participation? Yahweh says, 'As my share is above my needs, give it to my little ones.' And should not the sower do the same? Therefore I say, he who fails to support the underprivileged in obedience to Yahweh's wishes defrauds Elohim of his rightful due for what he has done. For cannot even an earthly partner decree what shall be done with the profit from this participation? I assure you, no man has ever yet made a profit wholly through his own efforts, and fraud perpetuated on the Most High Elohim will not be overlooked." The rich man said, "Your words sound well, but the holy books say the donkey is loaded according to its strength. The more I give in charity, the more I am harried by beggars. Even if I gave all I have, it would fail to satisfy." Jesus said, "If your wealth is so burdensome, then sell all you have and give the proceeds to good causes. It is not wholly good to give charity, for this is like cutting the thornweed which quickly springs up again from the root. It is more worthy to dig up the root of poverty." Then the rich man said, "Having my responsibilities in a large household, I am caught between the millstones. For is it not said in the books of wisdom, no man should disregard his responsibilities?" Jesus said, "The Torah brings all things to a balance of moderation. Does it not say, 'It is sufficient to feed and clothe the womenfolk modestly, caring for their needs, but ensuring they are not spoilt by idleness? It suffices to provide your sons with learning and skill, and your daughters with their dowries. There is nothing more you can give them, for above this you harm them with luxury. A poor man cannot spoil his family with overindulgence, but precautions against this are not the least of the rich man's burden." When it was close to eventide, Jesus was in another place, and he said to a few people who were gathered about him, "I am the fountain of life. If any thirst, let him come to me, and his thirst will be quenched. For is it not written, 'Streams of living waters will pour out from springs within him and overwhelm the seats of the deceitful. The same waters will strengthen the Ruah and wash away falsity. Jesus was referring to the power of the Ruah, which filled him as no other man had been filled. Some of the people said, "Surely this is Messiah," while others said, "Yes, he is Yahweh's anointed." There were many disputes concerning him. Jesus said, "You are betrayed by those who preach one thing and practice another. They delight in being seen in prominent places and think the misguided adulations poured on them signify greatness. Foolish people follow their ways and copy their pretensions. These people are not least among the hidden woe makers. You are deceived by hypocrites and the self-righteous, and led into error by the self-justified. Those who should watch over you set snares for your feet, and many are those who say, 'Heed my words, but not my deeds.' Those who set themselves up over the people or who attain positions of authority freely eat the fruits of success, but avoid the responsibility of setting an example of goodness. I tell you, cast these people out. Instead of standing aside, wringing your hands and crying, 'Woe, for the world is all wrong,' bestir yourselves, for I tell you, Yahweh will not do the things you are too apathetic to do for yourselves. They who desire to be with me in my reign must stand firm, holding fast to my cause through tribulation and trial." Just then some Pharisees came by, and Jesus knew them to be false to their declared beliefs. So he called out, "Hear me, you hypocrites and deceivers. Are you not among those declaring that any man swearing by the temple is not bound by his oath, but any swearing by the temple gold is bound? Fools! Which is the greater, the gold or the temple containing it? Or you say that those swearing by the altar are not bound by their oath, but those who swear by whatever is upon it are bound. Which is greater, the offering or the altar consecrating it? You concern yourselves with selling incense and the small profits from herbs and perfumed candles, while overlooking some more important matters. These petty things can be delegated to others. Or do you find weightier aspects of the Torah, such as mercy, justice, and truth, finding beyond your abilities? If so, then you deceive the people. Your minds are fixed on little things and cannot grasp greater ones. You strain a fly from the wine bowl, but leave the wasp." The next day, Jesus spoke outside the gate of the nations, and while there, a law scribe asked him, "Which is the supreme commandment?" Jesus answered, "None is supreme for all men, but for you the supreme one is, 'Listen, O people, the Elohim whom you worship is the sole Elohim. Love him with all your heart, all your mind, and all your strength.' The next one is, 'Love your neighbor as yourself.'" The law scribe said, "You speak well and speak truthfully in saying there is only one Elohim, having no equal. I believe that if a man loves him wholeheartedly and his neighbor as himself, it serves him better than all the burnt offerings which go up in smoke." Jesus said, "If these are not empty words, you will know the splendor in the reign of the Ruah." One of those there said, "I pray thrice daily, fasting on the 2nd and the 5th days. Does this prove my love of Elohim?" Jesus said, "Words alone or deeds done which benefit no other or purposeless restrictions do not indicate true love of Elohim. They are sops to weakness. These being easy, deny such love its true expression. Show your love of Elohim by working in his cause and making the world a better place. Do something requiring action, where you may risk unpopularity or scorn." That's what I'm about to do, y'all. 2 dignitaries of the temple stopped to listen, and Jesus, pointing to them, said, "Beware of those who ostentatiously display themselves, seeking the acclaim or homage of others. From whence does their wealth come? They prey on widows and enrich themselves at the expense of others. Hardship, providing it passes their door, is their friend. Yet these hypocrites put on a great show of righteousness, but one day they will be seen for what they really are inside." Entering the temple, Jesus stood near one of the offering chests, watching as people drop money into the chest of their choice. Many rich people contributed large amounts, but most did this so all could see. Then a poor widow came, and she gave only 2 small brass coins. Seeing this, Jesus said to one of the disciples next to him, "Did you see what that poor widow gave? Surely this is a lesson here. I can assure you that the offering of this woman is more acceptable than any of the others, for she gave all she had, while others gave only a fraction of their wealth. Tonight they will eat well, but she will go hungry." Giving is meaningless unless it entails some real sacrifice. What the rich gave were only sops to their consciences. When arriving in a town hungry, weary, and travel-stained, do we seek food and shelter from the rich or from the poor? Is it not the rich who have so much to give who turns us from their doors, while the poor who have little provide hospitality? Later, one of the emissaries said to Jesus, "When will all the evil be purged from the earth?" Jesus said, "When it is no longer spawned in the hearts of men. There is nothing wrong with the earth that men cannot put right. Do not expect help from Elohim, but be man enough to fight your own battles. No easy time lies ahead of you, for wherever you go, your loyalty to my cause will bring the hatred of men upon you. Nevertheless, remain steadfast through all the trials and tribulations lying ahead, and you will be glorified in immortality." The emissary said, "Adonai, can such things indeed happen to us?" Jesus said, "Be sure they will." They said, "Surely our tree of suffering will not bear bitter fruit or even prove fruitless." Jesus answered, "No, the sapling will grow strongly. From the tree will arise another teaching, and out of this, a confusion of beliefs." Ooh, I know what that's talking about now. Each striving for its own advantage. There will be unprofitable doctrines and viciousness, cruelties and intolerance, with many persecutions, all done in my name. Listen, he said in my name. They will corrupt and falsify my teachings to serve their own ends. They have done this. Hypocrisy will rule the hearts of men, and few will follow even the beliefs of their own hearts. These things must be, for they reside in the natures of men, but under the rule of Elohim they will be changed. Jesus said to those with him, "I will be slain as were John and his father, for I am feared because I may claim a right to rule from the sovereigns who were before David. The burden of my death lies heavily, but it is undertaken with purpose so men can be saved from evil, and what I do will speed the day of their deliverance." Thank you. Thank you. "I do not ride the winds, but have mapped the road ahead. No man can ever enter the heaven unless wearing the clothes of heaven. The world knows the ways of the world and welcomes worldly things, but the Ruah knows the ways of the Ruah and welcomes spiritual things. Serve one or the other. No man can serve both." Are you serving one or the other? Which one do you serve? And I will finish with this, my brothers. Seek Christ. Listen to Christ, not Paul.